All right, the grandkids are gone.
Here we are.
Okay,
Hey,
welcome
Cece.
everyone. We're just getting all our candidates in the room. We're going to start streaming live on Facebook and get started in just a moment or two. Thank you so much for joining us as our attendees are pouring in. I'm just going to thank you for coming and allow just some airspace.
Hey, Cece.
Hey, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good
Welcome,
to see you.
Cece.
Yep,
Hey,
thanks.
Cece.
I come up as Will Singh. I'm not obviously
Yeah,
Will
you're
Singh.
muted, or at least we can. Oh, there we go.
You're good.
You're
So,
good.
yeah,
I was muted.
we've had some technology issues, but we got it worked out. Thank you, Will.
You got it. So
yeah.
if you just want to click your picture, in the top right will be 3 dots, and you can change your name. Or there should be some option on the phone to rename.
Yeah, usually whenever I do that, I go to participants and I click my name,
Yeah, that works too.
but it's not, yeah, it's not letting me.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Oh, you got me. Cool. Thank you.
No problem.
Hopefully my internet holds up.
Should we do this thing?
Yeah, we still have, it looks like participants are still rolling in. I'm going to give it just one more minute and then kick off. Lauren, I'm going to make you the host, make me the co-host back.
Okay, sounds good.
What?
There you go. You should have that option now.
Okay. Let's
And
see.
then just click my name and make me co-host.
I just wanted to close that out so it doesn't make any noise.
Okay. Huh?
I just wanted to close it out so it doesn't make.
Yeah, I would suggest for our candidates, probably best to stay on mute and then come off mute as it's your turn to answer the question. I'd like to welcome everyone. We're excited. We're the Allentown Young Professionals, and we're hosting our mayoral virtual town hall in advance of the primary that's coming up on May 18th. To start, I want to thank our candidates. All 5 of our candidates have agreed to appear tonight. They're here. We're really excited for that. I'd like to thank our Allentown Young Professional members, whether they're followers on Instagram or Facebook, whether they're a part of our email list. We were really excited and humbled by the amount of contributors we had as far as questions being submitted to ask the candidates. And I want to give a humongous thank you to our board. First, I wanted to thank Sally May, an intern we've had from Allen High School that's been helping us. She also helped design and launch our website in this past month. I want to thank our founding member, Mark Smith, who's now in the role of senior advisor. Lauren Matthews, our treasurer. Louis Holtzman, our vice president. And my name is Will Sang, and I serve as the Allentown Young Professionals president. For those of you that don't know us, Allentown Young Professionals is a grassroots organization with nonprofit fiscal sponsorship that believes in focusing on a core collection of important urban elements will lead to Allentown's continued growth and success. Investment, educational support, philanthropy, entrepreneurship, residency within Allentown, and political involvement are intertwined pillars that our advisory board prioritizes. Some recent events we've had that you may have seen, we did a virtual town hall in advance of the general election for the state representative seat. We sponsored 20 families in need with full meals for Thanksgiving. We coordinated with CSC on the east side of Allentown with a book drive that we were able to collect over 350 books. And as I said, please follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, and check out our new website, www.allentownyoungprofessionals.org. We're excited for this night. We hope that taking questions from our community will have a different feel than some of the prior experiences our candidates and our community have had with this electoral process. And at this time, I just want to let our candidates know you'll have your 3 minutes for an intro and 1.5 minutes for each of our questions that will be given round robin. I'm going to pass it to our moderator, Louis Holtzman, and I'll be the timekeeper.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you, Will, and thank you so much for all the candidates for being here and 50 and counting participants here in Zoom and hopefully I'm sure more on Facebook Live. Coming to you here with 5 candidates, 1 from the Republican slate, 4 from the Democratic slate, to really understand why they should be mayor. And so we're here, have as Will said, a slate of questions from the community and also being able to give the chance for each candidate to really give their platform and have their voices be heard by our community to make an informed decision come May 18th. And if you're not voting in person on May 18th, make sure you have your ballots already in hand for those mail-ins so you get those out and get those in really as soon as possible at this point. Couple notes here as we go through, we will be doing a rotating order for the candidates, not only in answering questions, but also here in giving their opening remarks and in the closing statements. So with no further ado here, I'm going to look in Cece's direction, Cece Gerlach, as the first candidate to be able to open up here and state your platform, and then toss it back to me here before we move on.
All
And
right, well,
Just Cece, I'm going to share screen when we get under 15 seconds before your time runs out.
okay, thank you for that. So thank you again for having this opportunity every year, minus the 2020 COVID year. I've always looked forward to having the opportunity to attend in person these forums, either as a candidate usually, or sometimes as a citizen, as a voter. So I am running for mayor. I'm running to be the next mayor of Allentown. I have 10 years of governing experience here in Allentown, but more so I'm a community activist. That's really where my roots come from, getting started fighting for policy change, systemic change on the street, which is why I realize that far too often the decisions that are made up at the top don't really actually reach the people that they need to, regular working class people, which is why our next mayor of Allentown, she needs to be a working class mayor. She needs to have those working class values and working class principles, because only a working class mayor will actually understand when those policies don't actually translate down into the community. And with my last 10 years, my record of taking people's hopes and dreams and problems from their block and translating them into policy, both on school board and city council, I'm well prepared and equipped to do this as mayor. I believe that housing is a human right. I believe that in the 3rd largest city, it is absolutely unexcusable that we do not have a year-round shelter. Now, luckily, in the last year and 3 months that I've been on council, we've made some progress. We now have a commission on homelessness. That commission now has a strategic plan and will soon have a coordinator to actually implement that strategic plan. We'll be getting a couple $1 million from the federal government. And we actually allocated $100,000 in our city budget for the first time ever and had conversations with the county to allocate money in their budget towards this crisis of homelessness. With over 1,000 students in the Allentown School District who experience homelessness, and over 500 people within 1 year who have experienced literal homelessness. That means sleeping outside in a car or in a shelter. I also believe that development must be equitable. Development must actually benefit communities. And it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to do it. And, you know, the stats don't really pan out that the development, this trickle-down development's actually working when 80% of the jobs are held by non-Allentown residents. 85% of folks don't have a degree beyond a high school diploma, and 1/3 of people, sometimes my neighbors, they live in poverty. I believe that people need help, not handcuffs, which is why we need to reimagine public safety. We can't expect police to do everything. They can't be social workers, crisis workers, and law enforcement. So thank you for your time.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you, Cece. Julio, we're going to you next.
Can't hear you.
Julio, you are muted.
Thank you. I came to this country at the age of 15, speaking not a word in English. I've been very blessed that I worked very hard to be able to learn the language and go to college, got my master's degree. When I was in college, in my second year of college, undergraduate, my family moved to Florida. I stay here in Allentown because I love the city. And I've been here contributing to this community ever since. I've been here for 45 years. I never lived anywhere else but the Lehigh Valley, Bethlehem, then Allentown in the last 35 years in Allentown. I've been involved in many, many community organizations, provided a lot of services. You can go in my website, julioguridiformayor.com, and you can see all the organizations that I've been involved. I stay here because this city gives me the opportunity that I have never would be able to have in my country, my previous country, my native country. And I've been able to raise a family here. I got married, bought a house, and raised a family here. I got 3 children. My wife and I love it here. And we developed several successful businesses ourselves. We developed 4 businesses. My wife has a beauty salon. She had another one. She had 2 beauty salons and also had a travel agency for 13 years. I was a caseworker for children and youth. I was an executive director of a nonprofit organization. I was a banker, rose to vice president of one of the largest banks in the world. And now I work for the Delaware River Joint Toll Bridge Commission. Experience matter. I've been a council member for 20 years. And the reason I've done that is because I found that there is a need in our community in many different ways. And our community has changed from what it was 25, 30 years ago to being the largest community population, being the Hispanic community right now. We have a large Syrian community and African-American community and the rest of the community that have been here and built this city. I just wanted to talk about 3 points that I plan that I have. They are prosperity, quality of life, and integrity. In regards to prosperity, I want to talk about economic development. I was a city council president where we developed the needs and all the redevelopment in our city. At that time, we changed everything. Public safety is one of the best quality of life. I want to make sure we have a clean city. And integrity. Integrity is having a city hall for all, a city hall that would do high quality business for everyone. And I'll have more opportunity to talk about that as you ask questions. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Julio. Current Mayor Ray O'Connell, going to you.
Thank you very much. Thank the young professionals for having this tonight. I do miss Mark Smith not being in attendance, but I'm sure he's watching. I'm starting my 50th year as a public servant in the city of Allentown. 38 years with the Allentown School District, 8 years in city council, the last 3 years in council as president of city council, and 4 years of mayor, 50 years, 5 decades. Born and raised in the area, went to Kutztown State University, became a teacher, went back to Lehigh University for my master's degree. I have 2 principal certifications, one in elementary and one in secondary. Married to my beautiful wife for 45 years, been going together for 47 years, have 2 great children, Caitlin and Brendan, 2 great grandchildren. You saw one, Kennedy and Gigi. My service to Allentown has been totally committed, unwavered, all 50 years. My platform over the years have really not changed. Public safety is my #1 priority. Fire, police, EMS, to make sure they have all the equipment, they work efficiently, and they have the professional training that goes each and every day with their jobs. Quality of life issues. We've taken many dirt bikes off the streets. Crime is down. Make sure the streets are clean, the snow is removed, the whole 9 yards. Fiscal responsibility. Last year in March, we were $11.4 million in the red. We whittled that down with staff furloughs and also a hiring freeze. We went from 11.4 million to $700,000, which was a great accomplishment. The finance department did an excellent job. Obviously, economic development in all parts of the city. The NIS has done exactly what it was intended to do to make the downtown revitalized. We have to do economic development in all sections of the city, the north, south, the east, and west. And the bottom line is, when it comes to it, and we've said it at many debates, we could probably say each other's platform, affordable housing. We have to look at code enforcement. We have to look, the goal is home ownership. We have to make sure we have performance rated based inspections for the landlords. If they're doing a great job, maybe every 5 years. If they're not doing a great job, 3 years. If they're doing a terrible job, every year. Quality of life, fiscal responsibility, economic inclusion, diversity. Those, my platform has been my platform for many, many years. I've served the city, like I said, for 50 years. I will continue to serve the city. And I'm looking forward to be reelected on May 18th, and I won't be putting the air conditioners in until probably May 19th. But it's a joy to be in Allentown. 47 years with my wife, 45 years in Allentown. I love Allentown. I care deeply about Allentown. I bleed Allentown, and I want to be reelected mayor for the city of Allentown. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much, Ray. Tim Ramos, we're looking your way next.
Hey, how are you? I want to thank you for the Allentown Young Professionals for hosting this. Wish we could all be in person, but this is our cup, right? I'm a lifelong Center City resident. I'm a Center City homeowner. I've lived here my entire life. My wife and I grew up in Allentown, and we have 5 children. I've worked with the community for over a decade. I've worked at serving our community with at-risk youth and helping families. I've also been challenging city leaders for the last 10 years plus. I've been on the right side of every major issue facing our city. And what I've tried to do is bridge the gap between City Hall and our neighborhoods. And that hasn't been easy because we've had a City Hall and elected leaders who continue to tell us no, to reject any advances. They seem to have this position that they know better than the people living in the communities. And I don't think that's the way for us to move forward. So I got into this race because I believe that we need a leader, and we need leaders in positions like the office of the mayor who are going to be representative of our community. I grew up downtown, and I know what it's like to grow up in this community where you're completely rejected many times. And when you present information to our city leaders that you have researched, they just brush it off because, like I said, they know better. So I believe we're in a space where we need to move past buzzwords and get to a space where we're just getting things done. We need to create an environment for our city where we can cut taxes, continue to balance our budget, improve housing affordability. And I've led on the issue of community policing for many years. We're still waiting for a full plan of community policing. It was promised before. It's not been given to the city, and they're still asking for it. I believe we need to reform zoning laws and create an environment where our developers can build all over the city and create moderately priced housing so that we can, because that's what's in the demand. Not luxury luxury apartments. We need moderately priced apartments, and that's what's being demanded by our community. We need to establish economic opportunity zones so that we can be successful across the city. And I would like to institute a homesteading ordinance where if you were to purchase a multi-unit property, restore it back to a single family home, that we would give you at least a 5-year tax break if you live that house and restore it back to a single family. I believe we need to work with our community. I would do that and begin to address the issues, which are quality of life issues that our residents are dealing with every day. I look forward to more questions throughout the night. Thank you once again for having me.
Fantastic. Hey, thank you everybody for keeping to your times here. Finally, Matt Turk.
Hey, Louis, thank you so much. And thank you to the Allentown Young Professionals. Really actually been looking forward to talking to this group since you guys announced it, and probably since before you announced it, because I think my story might be similar to some of the membership. So originally I'm from Eastern Pennsylvania. I traveled around the country. I went to college in Philadelphia briefly, ultimately finished the degree in Charleston, South Carolina. And I moved back here to Pennsylvania when I was 29 years old with my wife to raise a family. We ended up here in Allentown and just absolutely loved what we found. It was a city that we'd never lived in before, but we were totally intrigued. Now I have two daughters here, 16 and 14. I left the job that I had originally, working in Panama, to work for the Allentown Economic Development Corporation. I spent 5 years there before moving on to the Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation. My job was to bring jobs and investment to the Lehigh Valley, but more than that, it was to change the narrative about our region and to put us on the map in the minds of people across the country and really across the world. So that's what I've done up to this point. In October, I left LVEDC to run for mayor. And why did I want to do that? Because I saw what the difference between successful communities around the world is and unsuccessful communities. And it's the level of engagement of leadership. My belief is that you need engaged leadership at the top to really make your community thrive. Our region has great cooperation, but it really depends on fantastic leaders. And I think that Mayor O'Connell has done an excellent job here in the city of Allentown, restoring trust to the seat. But I think it's time for a change. I think that we need to move on to somebody with a professional experience and with a diverse background to lead our city forward. I would be the first Spanish-speaking mayor in this city's history. I would be a lot of firsts in this city's history. So what do I want to do here, and what's the kind of the platform? We'll get into it a little more, but the core of it for me, because my background is in working to bring good paying jobs to the region, I think I can bring that experience and the energy that I have to Allentown City Hall. I've seen opportunities pass the Lehigh Valley and Allentown by over the years. I want to make sure that we don't miss any more opportunities. So we'll be engaged with assisting entrepreneurs in getting started, working to help small businesses expand, and helping attract new businesses here. I also think that we're way behind the times when it comes to a lot of the things that we do in the city of Allentown. Sometimes we act like it's 1980 and when we should be preparing for 2030. That means things like making sure that we have a sustainability plan in place. We need a climate action plan in place. I want to launch diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that will ensure that all of Allentown and the parts of Allentown that need the most assistance are getting that assistance. And then I want to upgrade our communications platform. We have a lot to do in this city to be ready for the next decade. I want to be the mayor to help you do that.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Before we move to the questions section here, a couple housekeeping notes. When you are not speaking on the candidates, please mute yourself. And when you are speaking, please remember to unmute yourself. Secondly here, those streaming and tuning in, we are live on Facebook, so you can find us there. You can also hashtag AYP Town Hall, Facebook and Instagram. This is being recorded. It will be uploaded to our YouTube channel and can be accessed through both our YouTube channel and our website. So stay tuned, or if you maybe missed this, you can watch this after the fact. But we're really excited by the amount of questions and contributors that we got. We had some similarities in the types of questions. So we ended up combining some to be able to A, ask some of those similar questions, but B, attempt to give those credit that asked those questions. We really hope that taking questions from our community will have a different feel than some of the prior experiences that our candidates may have received throughout other formats here. So no further ado here. Our first question comes from Randy Atia. The youth organizations in Allentown were already struggling prior to COVID-19. The parks and playground system was shut down for much of the pandemic. I think we all would agree that our youth need to get back outside and play. How do you plan to work alongside the school district and youth organizations to support the sports and athletic programs in Allentown? We started with Cece, so we're going to start at the back here with Matt.
All right, well, so what I've learned with my years at the Regional Economic Development Organization is the power of partnerships. I think that we need to be an ally to the school district to make sure that they're able to execute on their mission. That means a close relationship with the superintendent and the mayor, and a closer relationship between the city of Allentown and the Allentown School District to make sure that they can do the things that they need to do and that they have a friend in City Hall. Part of the city's responsibility is making sure that students show up ready to learn, and that means coming from safe, clean, and healthy neighborhoods. And the other part of that then is to make sure that the city is a presence and the mayor is a presence in Harrisburg and in Washington to assist the school district as they try to bring resources in to help accomplish the mission of the school district. The larger part on youth sports, I think that there's a role that the city can play in being an ally to the school district. The city has tremendous reach. The city has an ability to communicate with people beyond the school district and bring resources to bear to ensure that our kids have things to do to keep them active. I think we went too long before getting the basketball nets back up. I was out at Valania Park yesterday, actually, and a couple days before that. And we need to invest in those parks. What I would do with part of the $57 million that's going to come from the American Recovery Program is invest in improvements to our parks, and particularly in the parks that are in the most underserved neighborhoods. We've got work to do to make sure that our kids can be successful for the future. And it starts with a relationship between the city and the school district. And that means a relationship between the mayor and the superintendent. Thanks.
Thank you, Matt. And just to reiterate the question here, how do you plan to work alongside the school district and youth organizations to support the sports and athletic programs in Allentown? Tim Ramos, we're going to you.
Thank you. That's a great question. And I appreciate it because I actually do that now. Some of you who know me know that I'm actually a boxing trainer, and I'm actually helping out with a wrestling program that's been started in one of our charters. I volunteered in years prior at William Allen High School to help out when Coach Juan Garcia was there. I used to help him out as his assistant. We just need our community to show up and let them know that the door for cooperation is open. So we as city leaders can definitely walk alongside them, see what they need. I think sometimes we take the approach, it's this top-down approach where we're talking over people's heads and we're trying to tell them what they need. No, let's go to the district. Let's talk to our coaches. How can we assist you? And then we network that, we draft that message, take it to parents and students and say, okay, what do you need? And we come together, build a consensus and a coalition. Part of that is that I want to create a Mayor's Commission on Education, where we'll work alongside the school district. We'll have parents, business owners, professionals, teachers, administrators, and city officials all working together to do these things in cooperation. And I have experience in this area because I'm already doing it by networking with different schools. I created 2 different boxing programs, and I'm helping out on a number of wrestling programs. Those were the sports I played in. And of course, I have friends who are definitely engaged and involved with basketball and the other sports. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim. Ray, we're going to you next. Do you need me to repeat the question? You're muted. You're muted, Ray.
We're good?
Yep.
All right. Randy Attia, great question. Randy Attia was one of my, I don't want to use the word critic because Randy's a great guy, but when we had to shut down everything, special events, all the sports, all the playgrounds, no softball, no basketball, the whole 9 yards, no swimming pools, no playground program, no feeding program. It broke my heart, but we had to do it. CDC guidelines said we had to do it, okay? We went long. No activities, everything was virtual, terrible. We put on the basketball rims on March 9th. It was the right time to do it. The high schools were playing inside with masks. Colleges were playing inside with masks. The pros were playing inside without masks, okay? They were playing outside. So the bottom line is we have a partnership with the Allentown School District. Everything we do with the rec department, we are in conjunction with the Allentown School District. We have a strong youth program. Years ago, we had great activities such as, great organization, Union Terrace, Mountainville, Eastside Youth Center, Eastside Memorial, West End Youth Center. What happens is, as the kids go through, the volunteers, they leave. Volunteerism and everything is down, but we have a great partnership. We'll continue public school district. We have to keep the kids active. We have to keep them off the streets. If they get bored, they're going to get in trouble. I'm all for activities for our youth in the city of Allentown, and we'll work with anybody to improve that situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Julio, we're going your way next. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay. Thank you. I remember. I think one of the things I always say is that I will be meeting with the superintendent at least once a month. I will be there working with them directly. We need to, everything I do obviously has to do with youth, and I want to make sure that we work with our youth. My first job actually was working with Lehigh County children and youth. So I understand and I saw the need for that, especially in this environment that we are now. So I think Randy Atia knows that I've been working with him recently, and I'm going to continue to work with other schools. I just met last week with the principal at Deer High School, Mike McCool, and talked about the parks, the same things that we're talking about. The parks, we own the park where they play baseball and softball in at Deer High School, and those parks need some rehabilitation. They need some support. And I know we're going to be working in the swimming pool, but we're going to need more to do for them for the fields. But we also need recreation on the football park, which is right across the street from Deer High School. And that place, oh my gosh, it just looks so bad. I don't want anybody working there or playing there, doing anything. We need to redevelop that. So Community Action Committee of the Lehigh Valley is working on a program to develop a youth center. That would be wonderful. I will be supporting that 100%, and I will continue to work with our children. That's one of my priorities. Thank you.
Awesome, fantastic, thank you. And finalizing these questions here, Cece.
Yes, definitely. So I before COVID had a conversation with our current director of Parks and Recreation about an incredible program called Play Streets. Play Streets, the closest one is in Philadelphia. I got the idea from a current city council member over there. We were in communication about how we would be able to adapt to the new reality of COVID, and that's when she introduced me to the Play Streets. Play Streets is where you take a block and you bring the recreational opportunities to the people, and instead of expecting people to be able to travel to the recreational opportunities, you close a block down. You provide different athletic opportunities there, right there on the block. Sometimes it's a parking lot. I know in my neighborhood, our parking lot turns into kickball fields. The parking lot turns into baseball fields, football fields. So you close it off and you bring food, you bring the equipment to the young people, regardless if it's in the West End, East Side, South Side, or somewhere in between. Also, I think what we need to do is we need to be very strategic with what we do. Our partners, such as the two major hospitals and then the United Way, they've got data. They know where the disparities are. They know where there's high rates of obesity or juvenile diabetes, and we've got to strategically target these areas to make sure that these areas are having an increased opportunity at recreational opportunities. It's all about shared vision, shared goals, shared metrics, shared responsibility. Thank you.
Awesome, fantastic. We're going to move on to the next question. This was from Donna Peruzzi. With the momentum of racial equity we are experiencing throughout the country, are there any changes you would make to the way Allentown is policing its communities? And we are going to start with Julio.
Thank you. Yes, one of the things that I want to do is I want to make sure that we are very inclusive in our city. One of the things that happens is that, obviously, I'd said this before, our community has changed in the last 20, 30 years, and now it's a majority community. And we need to make sure that we take care of that. Nothing like this happen, whatever will happen in Minnesota happens to Allentown, never. And that's what I'm talking about. Police reform. We've been talking with the chief of police about this and looking at community policing as well. But we want to make sure that we have substations in every neighborhood, and that the police is out there working and talking to the children and to the citizens. I want to make sure that our citizens feel safe. As a person of color myself, and being both actually Afro-Latino, sometimes it's very difficult as walk on the streets. And I want to make sure that my kids feel safe, that my family feels safe, but I want to make sure that everybody's safe. throughout the city, not only Afro-Latinos, but everybody to feel safe. And I want to make sure that we work together in developing, looking at models that will fit Allentown, that will fit our city. We looked at a model called Cahoots in the past. We also looked at a model that is our kind of like a hybrid model out of Bensalem in Bucks County. And we are working with Cedar Crest College to make sure that we develop a better model that fits our population, our community here in Allentown, and that we don't leave anybody behind, that we all work together to make sure we have a safe community. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Ray, we're going to you next.
Yeah, repeat the question.
Surely.
Yeah.
With the momentum of racial equity we are experiencing throughout the country, are there any changes you would make to the way Allentown is policing its communities?
Absolutely. We're looking at police reform, okay? Not defund the police, but police reform. Every time there is a call into the 911 center, obviously a police officer responds, but when that police officer responds, there's not always criminal activity taking place. So what we need to do is make sure we come upon a situation where it's a drug and alcohol situation, a mental health situation. We have somebody there to meet the needs of that individual who is suffering from something like that. We have one community intervention specialist at this time. I put in the budget $100,000 for the second community intervention specialist, and we're looking for the county to fund 3 more. And we're working with Phil Armstrong, Rick Mulchaney, myself, the police chief, and we are hoping to get 1 community intervention specialist with each platoon. We have 5 platoons that will definitely, when a police officer goes out and there's no criminal activity, we can meet the needs of that individual who, like I said, is having a mental health problem or drug and alcohol problem. So we do have to look how we answer every call that comes into 911. And we'll continue to look and train our professionals, whether they be mental health workers, drug and alcohol workers, to work with the police department to meet the needs of all the residents of the city of Allentown as we meet the challenges of the entire city. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Tim Ramos, looking your way.
Thank you so much. You hear me right? Okay. I think this is a great question because I've been leading on the issue for so many years, talking about community policing, how important it is to rebuild the trust and relationship between our community and our police. But the way we make dramatic change is we hire local. I talked about 2 years ago, I said we need to do a Explorers program here in the school district, create a type of ROTC type training with the school district that puts them, our students right into our police department. We need to hire local and support our community. We also need to change the way our police training is done. When it comes to the training, our community, many people say that we need more training. I don't think they understand that our police are actually at policing are well trained. But what I see as a problem is the spirit, maybe the mentality and way of thinking behind the training. The idea that police officers consider they're going into the job and all of a sudden they're going into a war zone. I've heard it said many times, hey, you've made it home. Our city streets are not a war zone. Our city community are not enemies. We're here to be family. We're a community. You're here to serve us. We're here to serve you so that we can help build a community. And that's how we do it. You deal with the racial equity issue because you begin to hire local and support our local community by bringing them and grafting them into the fabric of what our police look like. And of course, like I said, you build a training program that starts in the school, and the school begins to feed our police department with students who were raised right here in this community.
Thank you, Tim. Cece, we're going your way next.
So thank you for this question as well. It is absolutely time for us to reimagine what public safety is. As I've said before, we cannot continue to expect police officers to be police officers, social workers, crisis workers, mental health interventionists, and everything in between. I think it's important that as we continue to bring new folks on, be they community interventionists or something else, that we really ensure that they are co-responders. Co-responders respond with the police officers to ensure that someone who's homeless, someone who is having a challenge with a drug and alcohol situation or a mental health challenge doesn't enter the criminal justice system, because we know these things are not crimes. These are social issues. Therefore, that's why you need more of a social approach. And then also, I think it's important to mention that, some of these models that are used throughout the country, there's data. And I think for us, we need to begin to look at our own data. And in order for us to ensure that we don't have systemic issues, we've got to look at our system, which means we need to look at our data to see if we have an issue with racial profiling, to see if we have an issue with bias. Instead of just assuming, we have to look at the data to explore and see if there are any areas that need some correcting. So I definitely, this has definitely been an issue I've taken on over the last year, and I look forward to taking it on as mayor as well in a systemic way.
Fantastic. Thank you. Rounding out this question, Matt?
Thank you, Louis. So everybody in the city wants to live in a safe environment. And that's something I talked about earlier. We need to make sure that that our people are coming from safe, clean, and healthy neighborhoods. So public safety is paramount for all of our residents. And that means that people want to know that they're safe from crime, but they also want to feel safe from police, right? We want to make sure that our residents feel safe wherever they go. So one way that we can get there, I think, is maintaining an excellent relationship between our police department and the residents that they serve. And Tim hit the right word there. It's the Allentown Police Department serves our community. So those continuing to build on the work that APD has already done around community policing to ensure those positive relationships, I think that's something that we need to continue to invest in. I really like the idea of hiring from within. I'm not crazy about the idea of residency requirements for police, but I do like the idea of having our residents or our kids who grew up in Allentown ending up on the police department. I think they have a better sensitivity to what an Allentown resident goes through. And again, this is a place where I would focus some of the spending from the $57 million that will come from the feds on the establishment of a scholarship program that would pay the cost of the police academy for Allentown residents. And it's repayable, or it's a loan program, but it would be the loan would be canceled if that resident ends up working for the Allentown Police Department. I have an insight into how the police department acts. I'm the only candidate among this group that attended the Citizens Police Academy. I think it gives me an insight into what we can do better. They know that they can do better, and I think we need to support them to do that.
But it's not true.
Please try to stay muted while the other candidates are going.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. We will mute you otherwise. Thank you, Matt. So next question here. And we are going to go to Ray first for this question. This is a paraphrase from a question specific to one candidate, formatted for all the candidates. City employees are important contributors to the success of the city. How would you increase the diversity of the city workforce demographic? Would you consider a residency rule? Ray, we're going to you. Ray, you're muted. Still muted. You're still muted, Ray.
Now we're good. All right. So I'm sorry. The only resident requirement we have in the city of Allentown is for my cabinet. I have 10 cabinet members. They have to, if they're appointed to the cabinet, they have 1 year to move into the city. Resident requirement, I think, eliminates a lot of good quality people from the outside. With that being said, my cabinet, I have one Black, my CED director is Black, my HR director is Black, my Freddie Augusto is the fire chief in the city of Allentown. He's the first Latino fire chief in the history of the city of Allentown. My job, and we've said it many times, we go back 4 years when I ran for mayor, grow your own. I want to make sure that the city of Allentown, their employees, reflect the community. We did it with the school district. It's difficult to do with the school district, but we have to make sure our employees in the school, in the city of Allentown, reflect the community. And we are out always recruiting. All the summer playground instructors, the lifeguards, they get first shot because they're Allentown residents and they will reflect the community. That's a goal of mine, always has been, always will be. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ray. Tim, we're going your way next.
Again, I think it gets a little shaky when you talk about residency requirements, but I definitely believe and support in raising up our own workers. We have some issues as far as learning with the test to get in so that you can work for the city. I think we need to start bringing the test down to at the school district. Start getting kids again with the same idea. We're raising our own. So at the school district, we should have a class maybe for young people who have a desire to work for the city, and we can literally just raise our own and have them work for our community. Hire local, support local. That's the way you deal, and you'll have a natural transition in dealing with diversity. The diversity of the city will be reflected in City Hall because we'd be hiring our own community. They live here. They know what they need better than anyone from outside coming to tell them what they need. So when they come in and you hire them, they'll be able to immediately deal with the issues that most affect them because they're living it. So I support hiring local. I'll never change from that. And my administration would definitely focus on that. We'd be hiring local. We'd support our own.
Awesome. Fantastic. I'm just going to reiterate the question just for the audience here. And again, this was contributed by Fazal and Jessica Austin. City employees are important contributors to the success of the city. How would you increase the diversity of the city workforce demographic? And would you consider a residency rule? Matt, we're going your way.
So I think one great way to, well, first I should start by saying that this is another way where Allentown looks more like 1980 than 2030. We have a city workforce that doesn't greatly represent our fantastic diversity within the city. So I think one thing that you can do to address this is to hold the Allentown job fairs. Holding job fairs in neighborhoods and not just at City Hall, but bring the jobs and the opportunities to the people. Make sure they have an opportunity. That means making sure that it's held not just geographically, but in English and in Spanish, making sure that it's fully accessible to all of our residents. I think we can work closely with the city's HR staff to improve the diversity within our city, and really to keep taking it up to the higher levels. A city that has a diverse city staff is attractive to people across the region. People want to live in a city that has that level of diversity within city administration. So I think this is, one thing you can do is job fairs. I think you can do things like making sure that offerings are offered in English and in Spanish, and making the city a great place to live. So the best way to, I don't want to do residency requirements. I think the best way to get around a residency requirement is create a truly attractive city where people want to live and invest. And that's what the result of Matt Turk administration will be, where people are coming here from across the Lehigh Valley and want to be in Allentown.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. We are going to you next, Cece.
Yes, so I'm actually working with the solicitor on an employee Allentown ordinance. And in this ordinance, what it will do is it will not require folks to live in Allentown, but when there are two equally qualified candidates and there is someone that lives in Allentown, that person will have preferential treatment. Because as I stated earlier, 80% of the jobs in Allentown aren't held by Allentown residents. We're not going to reverse that statistic with just hoping and dreaming. We need policy to reverse that statistic, and that's what I'm looking to do. Also, this employee Allentown ordinance, it will create a database of folks who are looking to work for the city. Far too often I hear time and time again, especially from folks of color, that it's nepotism and it's who you know in order to get a job for the city. That ends under my administration. Also part of the employee Allentown ordinance, we have a lot of businesses that are owned by folks who are in marginalized communities. I would like to set a certain percentage of city contracts to go to folks. Again, we talk about investing, we talk about valuing diversity. I think we need to talk about investing and putting policy behind that diversity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Julio.
Thank you. Great question, actually. We are going to, I believe in having a diverse workforce, and we're going to start with the mayor. As soon as as soon as I'm elected, I'll be the first Hispanic Latino mayor representing the Latino community in Allentown, and which is the largest community. I believe that we should work on bringing more people, hiring more Hispanics, more African Americans, and or more people of color. We got to stop this way of making sure that we hire only people that we know or friends of ours. Nepotism was mentioned before. We got to get rid of that. We need to make sure that we hire people who are obviously very qualified, and I think we have a lot of qualified people. If you look at our businesses in Allentown, majority of the businesses are owned by Hispanics right now. So I'm not saying let's only hire Hispanics. I'm just telling you what the fact is. However, I think we will do better hiring people from the city, and we have a diversity, so we have jobs for everyone. So talking about making sure that we go out and develop a database that we can have people who are ready to work, ready to come to the city, is the value of our city. Making sure that our city is prosperous so we can bring people from all walks of life to work in the city, and make sure that they are hired first in Allentown. Thank you.
Fantastic, great answers. I'm going to change some topics here and heard several mentions of growing our own, and I, as a William Allen High School alum, that really speaks to me, as well as a few questions here in our Q&A that lead to the school district. So that's where we're headed next. The success of the city is predicated on the school district and the city government working closely with one another. What are your thoughts on helping improve outcomes for the school district? Tim, we're going to go to you first.
You know, that's been the biggest issue that I've been focused on for a long time, is that, you know, the school district is almost becoming an anchor that the city's just dragging behind it. A third of our students are dropping out. A large majority are not even proficient in basic math and reading. And while it is true that the funding formula needs to be changed, we also need to recognize that almost $60 million more today are being put in from the state and federal government than 5 years ago. I don't think that we're having a money issue when we talk about the school district, much like the city. I think we're having a spending issue, or like the city is doing, we're having a judgment issue and an accountability issue. Our current elected officials have dismissed this as someone else's problem for far too long, and we just can't continue that. So like I said earlier, I'm looking to create the Mayor's Commission on Education. We'll have parents, teachers, business owners. We're going to have where we're working together to assist the district to create new opportunities for students. I want to work with the neighborhoods to put pressure on our school district when they're just letting our students and our taxpayers down, and work with our state lawmakers to bring needed reforms to Allentown. We need someone who's going to champion those issues. I'm a William, like you, I'm a William Allen grad. I'm a parent with kids here, and we need to make it our business to champion these issues. That's the position I would take, and I would use the position as mayor to make sure that our taxpayers are getting the most bang for their buck every time.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thanks, Tim. Matt, we're going to you next.
So I said it before, I think you have to have a great relationship between the city and the school district, because the reality is, and I've said this before, Allentown School District and Allentown are joined at the hip. When we try to help businesses in Allentown, when we try to help entrepreneurs get started to create jobs for Allentown residents, when we try to help Allentown small businesses expand, one of their major concerns is the ability to attract talent to a region, to a place like Allentown. And if the Allentown School District isn't performing well, it seriously hampers the rest of the city's ability to do well. So it's an absolute imperative that the mayor have a great relationship with the Allentown School District superintendent, and that the two organizations be partners. I think one thing that the city can do to be a better partner to the school district is complying or being compliant with the needs of certain grant making organizations. There are grants out there that are offered by philanthropic organizations that the school district's simply not eligible for because of certain conditions in the city of Allentown. For instance, if we don't have a sustainability plan in place at the municipal level as a city, there are grants that cannot be made to the Allentown School District. So we should work and do everything that we can to facilitate the school district's ability to get the resources that they need to be successful so that our kids can be successful. This is the big thing here. When you look at the future, when you look at a region that's successful, it has good opportunities for the kids.
Thank you. Thank you. Cece, we're looking your way next.
So it's definitely about relationships, but it's about taking that next step and actually having a strategic conversation, strategic planning, sharing data. You know, we have wonderful nonprofits in the Lehigh Valley where they will hone in on a school, say Central Elementary School, and the goal is to decrease tardiness or absenteeism. But you can't decrease tardiness and absenteeism with just the school district and just that nonprofit. That missing element is the city, because you have to address the mental health, you have to address the housing needs, you have to address the infrastructure that's surrounding that school. So again, that takes not just talking, but strategically talking and sharing information. Another thing that I would also like to address is internet. We need a citywide level of internet. We had this conversation at council not too long ago, and I look forward to either being mayor or city council, if it's done before that, and actually implementing a citywide level of internet. You know, we've got a lot of families that live in Allentown that rent, and they're paying like $1,000, $1,300 a month for a little 1-bedroom. When they have a steady job, they could own a home. So instead of only conducting home ownership courses at, say, the CACLV, what would it look like to work with our families right in our schools about buying a home surrounding one of our schools? So again, it's strategic.
Fantastic. Thank you, Cece. Julio, you're up next.
Thank you. Great question. I think the success of any great city is predicated on the education that it provides. I was a part of the empowerment team back in early 2000, late 1990, in the late 1999 and early 2000. And we were able to work with the superintendent and a group of stakeholders that got together to make sure that we do a better job at the school district. We did that. We worked hard, and we actually increased the PSSA grade level, and also kind of curtail a little bit on people who were students that were dropping out. But we need to continue to work harder. We need to make sure that, like I said before, that I would be meeting with the superintendent at least once a month to talk about this. We had 2 candidates running for mayor who have been part of the school district, and unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, with all due respect, the school district has gotten worse ever since. I mean, and they haven't done a great job. They didn't do a great job there. That's why when I become mayor, I'm going to make sure that I work with the superintendent, work with the teachers, make sure that we have a better program, better city, and better school for our students, and that we all work hard together, not only at the school district and the city, but also with all the stakeholders as well. Oh, I still have time. So we will continue to work hard. Thank you very much.
Awesome, fantastic. Thank you, Tiffany Pollock, for your pointed question here about the school district. Going to shift gears a little bit, going to Humberto Ortiz's question.
Forgot me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ray. Did we skip you? Sorry about that, Ray. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Jump in there.
Am I right?
You want me to ask the question again?
Yeah, you forgot me. No, the relationship. Okay. Yeah. First of all, Mr. Greedy, I've been out of the school district 14 years. I lived my life helping the children and families of the school district. That being said, despite what people are saying, the relationship of Tom Parker, the superintendent, and Ray O'Connell, the mayor, have been strong throughout our tenures. Okay. I was very sad to see Mr. Parker move on. Mr. Parker did a great job. We continue to meet, we continue to talk. With the new plans about building new schools, we were involved with that, the whole 9 yards. The bottom line is it's about equity. We need to have our kids funded at $11,000 per child in the Allentown School District. And Will's an educator, Tiffany's an educator. And a suburban school district are getting $12,000, $13,000, $14,000, $16,000 per school district. That's insane. We need a collaboration. Cece hit right on the head. We need broadband throughout the city. When the kids got their Chromebooks, okay, they couldn't even hook up. They couldn't even get the Wi-Fi to hook. That's a problem. We are look at broadband with a $57 million. School district has $88 million, 88.2. We've got to make sure we're helping the families. That being said, we need to equal the playing field for the Allentown kids. The playing field is not level for the Allentown kids. That being said, we have the most dedicated staff members at Central staff, teachers. If you teach in the Allentown School District, believe me, you're earning every dollar of your paycheck every day. It's a tough city, but it's a good city, a proud city, and we're going to help our kids get a fine education no matter what comes about, everywhere else. And bottom line is, as I always said, it's all about getting the kids the best education possible. We have great gifted knowledge programs. Thank you.
Awesome, great answer. And hey, Ray, sorry about that there. Moving pieces here. So
That's
moving
okay.
on to the next question now. Heard multiple candidates mention improving the conditions our residents are living in. This question comes from Humberto Ortiz. With hundreds of millions of dollars of NIS development in the past few years, is the city doing all it can to include all socioeconomic groups and communities to participate in Allentown's revitalization? Matt, we're going to go to you first.
So I think the short answer is that the city has not done all of that it can do, but it can do more. I think the city, again, this comes down to partnership and working to leverage the tremendous investment that has been made. I remember what Hamilton Street looked like in 2008 and 2009 when I first joined the Economic Development Corporation. We conducted the studies. We worked with a Muhlenberg student to do an upper floors assessment to determine the viability of attracting investment to the 700 block of Hamilton Street at that time. And it was a complete non-starter. There's nobody living on those upper floors. They were in bad shape. The storefronts were a wreck. And I know that, a lot of that goes to times before the NIS came about, but the simple fact of the matter is the NIS is a tremendous asset to Allentown to improve the level of real estate there and has delivered huge amounts of dollars to the various different taxing authorities. So it's been good in that respect, but there's a lot more that can be done. We can do more to attract companies that will create good paying jobs for all Allentown residents and will continue to attract new residents to the region and diversify incomes. We can do more to make sure that the benefits from the NIS spill over into the neighboring areas. I lived in Old Allentown when I first moved here at 11th and Linden, and Old Allentown still looks a lot like it did back in 2012. So we've got to do better. We've got to be an ally. We have to continue to build on the interest in Allentown by attracting new developers to the city. And that means being a better partner to the existing ones.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Matt. Cece, we're going your way next.
So absolutely not. It has not worked. It has not benefited communities. Trickle down development where you give huge tax breaks to large corporations does not work. I've shared with you the data earlier this evening. The 80% of folks that don't work that work in Allentown who don't live in Allentown. I'm the only one out of everyone that's running. I'm not used to the Republicans. Sorry, Tim. Myself and Tim are the only ones that actually live in Center City, Allentown. So from my perspective, gentrification is real, it's happening. And the only way that we're going to change this, the only way that we're going to actually include communities is not by continuing to follow this trickle down theory. We need policy. We need a community benefits ordinance or agreement. We need inclusionary zoning. When we begin to invest in ourselves, that is when companies will want to come in here and invest in us. It starts with community development before giving large tax breaks to large corporations.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that response. And just to repeat for the audience here, with hundreds of millions of dollars of NIS development in the past few years, is the city doing all it can to include all socioeconomic groups and communities to participate in Allentown's revitalization? Julio, we're going your way.
Thank you. No, we certainly have not. I think we need to do a lot more. I could tell you one thing in regards to the NIS and the over $1 billion of developments that we have put out is that before we started that, back in 2000, there was no development at all. We didn't start really redeveloping our city until about 2003, 2004, when we built that building across from on 9th Street, across from Village, the PPL Plaza, and then we built the actual where Billy is, which is the Boots building, and then we started redeveloping our city a lot more. We redeveloped downtown, but now it is time to do more for the rest of the city, and that's part of my plan. I mean, I brought a guy by name from New Jersey who opened Supremo grocery store right on 7th Street. That's right in the neighborhood. We also talked to people from Seatown who opened Little Apple Market, and they also opened Seatown. And we've been talking to these people. I've been talking to them. They're actually Dominicans themselves, which is good for our community to have more investment into the city. So it has trickled down somewhat to some people, and we're going to continue to do that. We need to continue to make sure that we have more housing development for working class people. But at the same time, it was said earlier that I lived in downtown, I lived in Center City, and I was able to move up to the West End, and now we're redeveloping. So people who are lower income area, where you can get into those houses that we are redeveloping.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Julio. Ray, you're next.
Thank you. Denise has done exactly what it was intended to do, to revitalize the downtown, okay? And it has, very successful. People have to remember the pandemic has put a lot of development on hold for 14 months. With that being said, yes, we do need to do more for the north side, east side, and south side. Also, as you go forth and you the developers bringing in, we met with, I was the last month or so, Leonard Leitner, Director of Community Economic Development, Tom Williams, Deputy Director. We have met with no less than 15 developers, the projects. They're doing a project, the Janos are doing a project in the waterfront. Mr. Garidi spoke about the Front Street project with the Manhattan Building Company, Alex Wright and John Palumbo. Kevin Sirifas and Matthias Fenstermaker are doing something out by Regency apartments out there. So we are meeting with developers. We're talking about developers to make sure we're developing outside of the zone. One thing that I have stressed many years ago, and I will continue to stress, when a developer comes in, they have to make a commitment to community. Obviously, CC, community benefits agreements, they have to reach out to the community, just not make that area that they're developing better for them, but all the surrounding people make that area better for their families in the community. So we continue to meet with developers on a weekly basis. And I would say once we get over this pandemic, you'll see another boom in the south side, east side, and the north side. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray. Rounding out this question here, Tim.
Hey, thank you so much. This makes me think of a panel discussion I was part of some years ago. I can't remember the name of the hosting organization, but the discussion was about racism, ghettoization, and gentrification. And my opinion was that there's a little racism in both. When you ghettoize a community and change the fabric of that neighborhood just to kind of redline communities the way they were done in Allentown, I can tell you in 1987, when my father came here, he wasn't shown West End properties. He wasn't shown South Side or East Side properties. He was shown 7th Street, 2nd Street, only 2nd Street neighborhoods or Center City neighborhoods. And after 50 some odd years of redlining Hispanics and African Americans into Center City neighborhoods, now they created an environment where businesses downtown, which was thriving. See, I remember Super Sunday, and some of the others don't know because they weren't here, but I grew up in the city. I remember what it was like. I remember when those 2nd and 3rd floors were thriving and prosperous. I remember business men and women sitting in their windows looking down, but there were ordinances passed to stop those businesses. There were things done on Hamilton Street to make it what it became. And that's the reality, that things were done to make it destroyed. And now once the NIZ idea came in, now we want to revitalize, you want to gentrify the people out of it. No, invest in the community that you have. Stop making the same mistake over and over and over again. That's where the mistake was made. City planners didn't want to invest in our community. That would not happen with a Tim Ramos administration. I would see to it, we include our community.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you all for your answers there. And I'd just like to remind everybody that we are streaming live here. You can ask questions or interact with us on social media, hashtag AYP Town Hall. We got about 20 minutes or so left here and a handful of other questions. We've gathered a number of the questions from our community where they feel that the issues are. Now it's our candidates' turn. What do you feel are Allentown's largest current challenges, and how specifically would you address them? Cece, we're going to you first.
So I would say our housing stock, and by that, I'll split that into a couple of different categories. We've got to go after slumlords. We've already began that process. Myself and another council member have had meetings with our director of economic development, and we have a resolution that really lays out the different ways we will be going after our slumlords. And the reason why I pointed to that first is, you know, when a building is rag tagged and the people have to leave, that increases homelessness, which is also something I'm passionate about. When students are living in these buildings that are not up to code, they are not quality places to live. They go to school less ready to learn. So by going after these slumlords, by actually enforcing Act 90, Act 90 will allow us to go after their personal assets by working with the county to require them to pre-register before they go to a sheriff's sale. So if they're a slumlord, they won't be able to acquire more property. And by changing from a 5-year inspection cycle and going down to a point system, which Mr. O'Connell mentioned earlier, so that problem properties are actually inspected more frequently. We have way too many blighted properties, way too many properties that are owned by out-of-state landlords that just don't care about their residents and don't care about the city of Allentown. So that would be one of my number one issues.
Awesome, fantastic, thank you. Julio, we're going to you next.
Thank you. I think one of the biggest problems that we have in our city is actually our school district. I mean, people are here from every day. People don't move to Allentown because the city is bad. They don't move to Allentown because they don't want to send their kids to the school district, unfortunately. So we need to continue working. And that's why I say that I want to prioritize working with the superintendent and meeting with the superintendent at least once a month. So we can work on that, simultaneously working with our blighted properties in our city, which is one of the major issues. As a landlord myself, and as somebody who came here and bought several properties, I know how it is to invest in property, and I know how it is to try to maintain them. But at the same time, we all got to work together, because I know also how some tenants are not the best they can be. We need to have more education to the tenants and to the landlords as well. We started a program like that with CACOB when I was a board member for 12 years and a vice president of the organization. And we developed a program that helped people who couldn't buy a house, or they thought they couldn't buy a house, to do a first-time home buyer program. That program I actually translated into Spanish, and we had a number of people who took advantage of it, and we have people that bought homes. But we also developed a program with the Community Action Development Corporation that was for people who wanted to open a business, and we taught them classes on how to write a proposal so they can open a business, go to the bank, and be able to maintain the business and hire more people from the city who were probably not able to be hired otherwise.
Fantastic, thank you, Julio. And just to reiterate the question from Nate Freed, what do you feel are Allentown's largest current challenges, and how specifically would you address them? Ray, we're going to you next. Wait, I don't see Ray on the panel here anymore. Okay, Tim, we're going to you next.
You know, I think that right now, one of the most pressing issues is crime and quality of life issues. You know, as I've been going door to door and out on the street talking to our voters, I've been literally getting flagged down by voters. One day, a gentleman talked to me about a gang issue that's been unreported and some acts of violence that have been unreported. And he told me more than a dozen situations where residents are just afraid to report on this issue. And I definitely think we need to take a hard stance against this. This is our city. Again, along with community policing, creating coalitions with the neighborhoods and strengthening our neighborhood block watches. We need to really dedicate resources to protecting our community. Of course, with that, our quality of life issues, considering blight and litter throughout the city. I also had an individual reach out to me, said they're considering, after 18 years living here, moving because they weren't even able to deal with a noise complaint. They called Allentown police showed up and left, didn't deal with the issue. Maybe 30 minutes later, the music was blasting all night. This is every day, they say. They're just so sick of it. We need to take a hard stance. We need to be aggressive with lawbreakers as they are with breaking the law. We need to be aggressive in making sure that we're enforcing the law and that they're following it. And we need to change the spirit and culture within our city. And we can do that with strong leaders. That's what I bring to the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Matt, we're going to go to you.
So I don't know if you all saw the Muhlenberg College poll that was in the morning call the other day, but I think that showed us what the biggest problem is with Allentown right now. And it's that our residents think that we're headed in the wrong direction. I think it was 67% of Allentown residents think that the city is worse than it was or headed in the wrong direction, which is up from 4 years ago. And this touches everything. This touches housing, it touches litter, it touches the quality of education, it touches the job prospects. And when we're talking professionals, and this is a young professionals forum, you invest in a city that you feel positive about the future, right? We need to return a positive narrative to the city, a city that a lot of people here grew up in and are proud of, a city that I'm a transplant to. I moved here from elsewhere, but I absolutely love this place. I feel positive about Allentown. I feel strong. I feel good about our future. And I think that we need to change the narrative in Allentown. So how do we do that? We make the investments to turn the story of the city around. We invest in creating good quality jobs for our residents, which includes career opportunities for our young professionals. We invest in the climate and sustainability plan for a city that puts us on a trajectory for the future. We invest in diversity, equity, inclusion. We'll create a chief diversity officer position in the city to make sure that the entire city is represented and the entire city sees that positive future. And we're going to digitize the city. We're going to make sure that city services, whether it's the trash or snow removal or any of those things, are delivered in a modern way. The biggest problem with the city right now is that our residents think it's headed in the wrong direction. They can turn that around. They can vote for Matt Turk and put us in the right direction.
Thanks, Matt. Great answers, everybody. And really talking about improving, we know there's CARES money coming to us at some point here. These questions came from Stephen West and Josh Cunningham. They contributed to combine this question here. What is your plan to allocate and distribute the $57 million of CARES monies provided to the city? And would any of this funding be invested in the school district? We are going to Julio first.
Thank you. Part of the issues that I want to do is I want to make sure that we have a very sustainable city, financially sustainable. And I want to put some money, probably a couple of $1 million, probably $5 to $10 to $15 million in a fund that will keep us safe for a while. We did a commission study that came from Harrisburg. It was a study to tell us how the city is going to do in the future. And one of the things that it said was that in 5 years, we will be bankrupt in about $40 million. Fortunately for us, we're in the best position we've ever been. We're having $57 million in coming to our city because of the CARES Act. But we're also going to have some funding coming from the county because the county has $72 million, and hopefully we get some of that money as well. So we're going to be in a great position to do wonderful things for our city. Obviously, housing stack. I want to redevelop some of the houses if we can. I know there's more money coming for housing, so that's would be some of the things that we put in the side. But as well, but we have to redevelop our city and make sure that we develop our infrastructure in our city. So I'm going to invest some of that money in issues and things that are going to be prosperous for the city in the future. So we can't just spend money and not be able to get some money back. So loan programs, make sure that we help people that need a little bit of funding, perhaps to open a business, perhaps to fix their property, and give them some grants, and then create a revolving loan program that is most needed in our city for those people who are actually going to be living here and having a better life for them, for their families.
Thank you, Julio. Tim, we are going your way next here.
Okay, look, we've heard from a couple of the other candidates about laundry lists of ways to spend on new initiatives. And, I think we need to be careful. The city has a history of spending. For every dollar, they're spending 10, 20, 30. It's ridiculous. We need to be responsible. It's approaching the point where it's just morally wrong to continue to spend dollars this way. Every dollar comes in, they spend it, and then they create new programs and then hope that they'll either get bailed out by the government later, by the state and federal government, or, raise taxes. And we can't face another 27% tax increase. Our residents just can't afford it. Now, I know that we're still awaiting guidance from the Treasury Department on how we can exactly spend some of these dollars. But, I'm thinking that we're currently spending close to 15% of our budget is debt service. I would like to deal with some of that so that we can put a portion amount to deal with our debt. And I would also like to fund our homesteading program. I want to create a homesteading program where if you restore a multi-unit home that was converted into a multi-unit home from being a single family use, restore it back to that. We'll give you a 5-year tax break and we'll be able to set some money aside. And I also want to fully fund every idea when it comes to community policing. We need to put the money where it is so that we're supporting our community and building the relationship with our law enforcement once again.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tim. And just to reiterate the question, what is your plan to allocate and distribute the $57 million of CARES money provided to the city? Would any of this funding be invested in the school district? Matt, we're going to you.
So I started this off the first time I talked about this however many weeks ago, with saying that whatever investments that we make need to be investments that repay themselves, investments that don't create additional burden on us in the future. Quickly in the school district, I believe they're getting another $148 million that they will be spending. So when I detail the things that I'd like to spend, they are programs that repay themselves, but they also generate revenue for the future. So a lot of those we'd build a revolving loan fund around housing that would fund existing property owners to make energy efficiency improvements to their homes, improving heating and air, creating solar panels, those types of things. I'd like to invest $10 million in the establishment of an entrepreneurial loan fund so we can make loans to budding entrepreneurs to get them off the ground, to create good jobs in the neighborhoods. I think we should spend $10 million on our parks. One of the huge assets in the city of Allentown is its parks, and there are a lot of them that are in rough shape. I mentioned Valania Park earlier. Valania Park I believe it's already due for renovations, but those are critically important. I think we should spend $2 million. We should invest in improvements to Allentown's Fire Academy. Having students go through the Fire Academy would generate revenue for the city. I think we need to spend $5 million to create a scholarship fund. Again, I mentioned that before with getting kids into the police department. I do want to spend $2 million in partnership with the county to develop a year-round secular emergency homeless shelter. I think that's important. There's another $3 million there. I want to hear from our residents on how we should spend those dollars.
Thanks, Matt. And we're going to go to Ray here. What is your plan to allocate and distribute the $57 million of CARES money provided to the city? Would any of this funding be invested in the school district?
First of all, I apologize. My Wi-Fi went down for quite a bit, so I'm back on. We're still getting guidelines from the Treasury Department. There are specific ways we can spend that money, and we're working through that. We're going to have a community meeting on the middle of May. I believe it's May 13th. over at the Palace. We're bringing leaders together to talk about what are the priorities of the neighborhoods, what are the priorities of the stakeholders. Look at that $57 million. Have we broken it down yet? How much money we're going to spend on this much, that affordable housing, on economic inclusion, economic development? We are not there yet. However, the school district, like I said, is getting 88.2 million. We're getting 57 million. The county's getting 72 million. We all need to come to the table as a partnership so we don't duplicate services and make sure we invest the money properly and do it in a strategic way that we're helping the families throughout the city of Allentown. And that we're going to bring the stakeholders on May 13th to the table. That's a start. We're going to go all into the community, the north, the south, the east, and the west. Find out what the neighborhoods, what their needs are, what their challenges are, change those needs and challenges with that money into obviously infrastructure, water and sewer, broadband, things like that. So that's what we'll be looking at that. And it's an evolving plan. We got 28.5 million, 2021, 28.5 million, 2022. We have to spend it by 2024. So it's a very ambitious plan and we'll meet the challenge of the plan. Thank you.
Thank you. And Cece, rounding out this question.
Sure. So when I was at the laundromat the other day, I encountered a lady who got a job. And the reason why she was able to get that job is because the school district equipped her child with a hotspot. So she was able to go online and apply for a job. So I would say one of the most top priorities with this money is, again, establishing a citywide internet broadband. Not only for our young people, but also for our adults, for our families that are job seekers, are looking to go back to school. We, of course, have to invest in our infrastructure as well. We all know that a strong infrastructure and investment in communities, that's what attracts businesses to relocate here to Allentown. Of course, housing. I'd like to focus on two major areas, which both involve the land-based legislation that we recently passed, which would be home ownership and blight. We currently have a program in Allentown that only 5 people have went through. I'd like to invest in that program. It takes people with less than perfect credit. It has them lease a property and then eventually own that property. So from leasing to own, it fixes blight and it fixes the home ownership issue. Finally, of course, homelessness. We must have a year-round shelter that accepts everyone regardless of who they love and how they identify. But we also must approach the temporary housing needs, such as maybe tiny homes and then more permanent housing, sometimes with supports depending on the needs of the person. So those are my areas I'd like to focus on. Thank you.
Thank you, CC. And in the interest of time here, we do have 2 more questions. One's going to be a lightning round. 10 seconds for the candidates here. If you could answer first thing that comes to your head here. Yacco's or Willie Joe's? And if neither, we'd accept really any of your favorite eatery of choice. CC, we're going to go right back to you.
Winston's Jamaican Restaurant.
Okay, Julio.
I like halal, but I like the source now.
There we go. How about you, Matt?
Union and Finch or La Placita as a backup.
Ray?
Giovanni's or Yule's?
Awesome. And Tim, how about you?
Castillo, they closed, so now it's Anna's.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Awesome. Well, we really want to thank everyone here for their time. We do have our last question of the night. It has been packed and we hope everyone has enjoyed it. Again, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, hashtag AYP Town Hall. This is a recording. It will be posted on YouTube. And so really appreciate everyone's time for tuning in and for the candidates here. Our last question, we're going to allocate 2 minutes for each candidate. So answer the question, but also any closing remarks would be appropriate at this time.
Answering the question and closing remarks.
This comes from Sarah Bruno. Tim Ramos, we're going to go to you first. What are the immediate changes you would make if you were elected mayor? This could include personnel or more.
You know, the immediate changes, like I said, I would be looking to hire right away within. I would, there's some personnel changes I would definitely make. There's some people that I'm looking at that I believe can do a better job when it comes to our management department and how we're looking over our budget and managing our dollars. So that will be that has always been something that I feel is very important, because when it comes to the budget and how we spend, it always seems to come back to raising fees and services and now taxes. While everybody says that taxes weren't increased over 12 years, They seem to always forget that the fees for services were always increasing every single year, and the EIT tax was raised 3 times. So that's something that we need to be focused on, is our budget and how we conduct things, our business as a city and an organization. You know, I grew up in the city of Allentown. I've been here with all of you. I've played ball with you. I've wrestled with some of you. I boxed with some of you. And now our kids are growing up together in the same communities that we were raised in. We know what it's like. We faced discrimination in the past. We faced the obstacles of what it looks like being raised in a city like ours. And we've come to love our city. And now it's our time to lead together. So I hope that you agree with me, and that come November 2nd of this year, on November 3rd, we'll be looking at a Tim Ramos administration, and it will be someone who stands with you, who's always been with you, and who's still with you today. Take care and God bless.
Thank you very much, Tim. Julio, we're going to go to you.
Thank you. One of the things I want to do is I want to make sure that we have a blue ribbon panel of industry experts in the community to make sure that we have through different industries as well, but to make sure that we have a very diverse panel and come together, and within a year, within 100 days, give us a report on how we're going to move forward. But in addition to that, I want to be ready on day one. I have the legislative and executive experience that nobody else has. Plus, I have a community experience that nobody else has. I've been there for people for the last 35 years, working hard for them and being able to do it in several languages, actually. For those people who are newcomers to our city, I think we're going to make history having the first Afro-Latino mayor. We're going to change the status quo, and somebody who actually can relate to people. Obviously, I can relate not only to the Hispanics, the whites, and the blacks, but also to the Syrians by raising the flag for them. Nobody else wanted to do it in the last couple of weeks. So those are some of the things that I want to make sure that we do right away. But in addition to that, I want to make sure we take care of our children, our youth. I want to make sure we take care of our seniors, and I want to make sure we take our adults and provide jobs for them in our city, that they can afford to live a decent life with dignity with their family in our city. I want to make sure that we have a great park system and redevelop our parks, redevelop our blighted properties, and make sure that we provide more businesses to our city, that people can actually live and work in our city. And I'd like to just say thank you very much to the young professionals for giving us the opportunity to talk and to explain our plans. There's a lot more, obviously, that we have that we can say, but we're going to have more opportunities to do a couple of others forum. And please go into my website, juliouridiformayo.com. God bless you all.
Thank you, Julio. To reiterate the question, what are the immediate changes you would make if you were elected mayor? This could include personnel or more. Ray, we're looking at you.
Thank you very much. I would continue my agenda, my platform, obviously. I would look at creating a Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. I would also look at creating a Department of Community and Family Engagement. I think it's very important, not to duplicate Lehigh County Children and Youth, but Department of Community and Family Engagement. I've been very proud of what I've done for 37 months and what I've done in City Council. I mean, it's easy and it's fair that my opponents take a shot at me, they poke at me. That's fair. That's fair game. That's a democracy. I am a proven leader. I've been a leader in the school district. I've been a leader in City Council. I am now the leader of the city of at Allentown as the mayor of Allentown. 38 months. I have 9 months to go on this term. Hopefully it will be reelected for another 4-year term. The bottom line is I care. I care deeply. I love this city. I bleed this city. I wear my emotions in the city. When people talk about their kids in the city, I'm the first one to come to defense. When they talk about the school district kids, I'm the first one to come to defense. I have been in this city for 45 years. I want to continue the work that I started. There's more work to be done. I want to be inclusionary. I want to make sure that everyone, their voice is heard in the city of Allentown, and I am committed to Allentown. I have never missed a day of work in the school district in 38 years. I've never missed a day of work with the city as a city council person or as a mayor. My job performance has been top. Again, I surround myself, I'm not a micromanager. I surround myself with good cabinet people, good bureau managers, good supervisors. I need to continue 4 more years of Ray O'Connell. Please re-elect Ray O'Connell for the mayor of the city of Allentown, and we will move this city together. One city united for all. Allentown for all. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you, Ray. Cece, we're going to you next.
So one of the first things I will do when I become mayor is to conduct a climate assessment. I want to actually hear from the employees in a very tangible way through data. I want to ensure that those who are members of marginalized communities and work for the city feel safe, valued, and heard. I also would like to begin the process of decriminalizing homelessness, addiction, and mental health, which means we don't always need someone with a gun to show up to these situations. So I would like to begin to implement our own model that of a Cahoots-like program. It won't be full-on Cahoots, but something like Cahoots, so that we can actually begin to address these structural challenges that we've got in Allentown. And for me, that's what it's always been about. It's about the structural challenges. It's not about, rhetoric and empty promises. It's about having a clear vision and having the intentional planning and the policies to back up that vision. And furthermore, being able to gather people together from different walks of life, people who traditionally would not be in the same room, be they sleeping under a bridge, serving soup, or running a company. Gather them together to solve these problems, because we all know that people closest to the pain need to be closest to the power, because the solutions are within them. So again, as mayor, I will take a very structural, a very strategic approach to these challenges, because these challenges are not just our own, they are embedded and throughout society. They have been here for centuries. And if we're going to change these structural issues, we need to take a structural approach. So I look forward to earning your vote. Feel free to check out my website. It's ccgerlach.com. You can find out more information. And of course, you can always reach out to me. Again, thank you, young professionals, and everyone who has tuned in this evening. Have a great night.
Thank you, Cece. Thank you. Thank you. Rounding this out, Matt.
Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you tonight, and thank you to Louis and Lauren and Will for putting this together. You guys have done a fantastic job, and I think it's given our Allentown voters a good look into who will lead the city. So the first change that I would make in City Hall on day one is the biggest change would be we'd introduce a new spirit of collaboration in City Hall. I truly look forward to working with Mayor O'Connell, as former Mayor O'Connell, to be by my side and be an ally, to continue to be an ally to the city. I truly look forward to working with Councilwoman Gerlach and to help execute on her ambitious vision for the city. We can do this together. I look forward to continuing to work with Councilman Garidi and his outreach to the Hispanic community in the city of Allentown. We're going to usher in a spirit of collaboration. You as young professionals know the frustration of being told no, right? When you have a great idea, somebody shoots it down and says, we tried it before, no. I want to change that spirit in Allentown. I want to convert Allentown from a city that tells people no to a city that helps people figure it out. We can do that for entrepreneurs. We can do that for the problems in the city. We're going to introduce a spirit of collaboration in the city of Allentown. That means collaborating and being present in neighborhoods and engaging with neighbors to help understand what works in their city, in their parts of the city, and what doesn't. It means working with businesses to understand the obstacles that they face to expansion and creating new jobs for our residents. It means working with stakeholders across the region to usher in a new spirit of collaboration in the city of Allentown, where we are the leader of the city, of this region. We're the third largest city in the state of Pennsylvania. We're the largest city and the third largest metro in the state of Pennsylvania. We're going to put this city back on the map. We're going to change the narrative. We're going to take that 67% of the city that don't feel positive about the direction that we're headed in. We're going to turn that around with a spirit of collaboration. It'll be a new day in Allentown with a Matt Turk administration. I look forward to that day.
Thank you, Matt. I'm going to turn this over here to our president, Will, to give some closing remarks, and I appreciate everyone's time here today.
Thank you, Louis. You did a tremendous job tonight. So thank you so much for moderating. A huge thank you to our candidates. Your candor, your honesty, your participation and engagement tonight was really telling. We're excited for the opportunity to give Allentown a look in to your answers. I want to thank all our contributors and all our viewers, whether it was via Zoom or via Facebook. We hope that the opportunity to chime in beforehand by submitting questions or within the forum in the Q&A or on social media was helpful to give you a different feel than some of the other political events that have happened recently. I want to give a big thank you to our other board members, Mark Smith and Lauren Matthews. I want to remind all our audience members that the Allentown Young Professionals is a grassroots organization started a few years ago by Allentown residents, most of us Allentown graduates. We have nonprofit fiscal sponsorship. We believe in focusing on a core collection of important urban elements, and we feel they will lead to Allentown's continued growth and success. Investment, educational support, philanthropy, entrepreneurship, residency within Allentown, and political involvement are intertwined pillars that our advisory board prioritizes. You saw the political arm of our of what our board prioritizes tonight. I want to remind you that we had a similar political event in October. We also sponsored families at Thanksgiving with meals, did a book drive around Christmas. Coming up, you should see us on our Facebook page, our IG, our website, on YouTube, as we are handing out our second annual Allentown Young Professional Scholarship to 2 Lehigh County Community College students. We also have a Queen City Speaks Up video series right now. We have school board members as well as city council members, or I should say people running for those 2 offices that we're doing video series with. We're also doing it with Allentown residents. So we have some that we're going to be releasing throughout the summer. If you're interested in being a feature for a short video of some of the benefits of Allentown, why you came here, possibly the ways Allentown could improve, please hit us up. Again, Facebook, IG, AllentowNYoungProfessionals.org is our website. This will be posted on our YouTube channel. We're just really excited. We think this is a great event for our community, and we wish everyone a great night.
Thanks all. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Great